This week's episode looks at a classic Autobot whose name has been used in a lot of very different ways across Transformers' 35-year history. So let's stop leaking lubricant, tighten our shock absorbers, and get started with the basics on IRONHIDE. The original IRONHIDE toy was one of the very first Transformers, initially released in Japan in 1982 as one of the first figures in the Diaclone toy line's range of transforming car robot toys. It transformed into a Nissan Cherry Vanette, with the rear portion of the van disconnecting to become a battle platform for the robot, and it was also available retooled and recolored as an ambulance. Both van and ambulance were imported by Hasbro to become part of the first year of the Transformers toy line in 1984, becoming IRONHIDE and Ratchet respectively. In the world of Diaclone, the characters weren't living robots, but piloted mecha, and IRONHIDE's squat design reflected that more than most visibly by having a pilot's seat instead of a head, which the Transformers release of the toy tried to compensate for by covering the seat with a sticker bearing a robotic face. Unsurprisingly, he wound up being heavily redesigned for the Transformers cartoon and comic book and looked very little like the figure. This redesign wasn't ready when the comic began production, however. In the first 2 issues, IRONHIDE appeared looking like the toy. IRONHIDE was named by Marvel Comics writer Bob Budiansky after TV detective Ironside, and characterized as the Autobot's security officer, a tough old war veteran with a kind heart masked by an ornery exterior, who preferred action to words. Writing this profile was about all Budiansky ever did with IRONHIDE, though. The character never got to do much in the comic book, but stories exclusive to the United Kingdom's version of the series did give him a greater share of the action. It was a different story in the Transformers animated series. IRONHIDE was one of the show's most prominent characters, appearing in more episodes than any other Autobot except for Optimus Prime and Bumblebee. Though that probably had something to do with the fact that his voice was provided by the same actor who played Optimus, Peter Cullen, who gave IRONHIDE a southern cowboy drawl.
Well, I'm prepared to knock those Decepticons all the way back to Cybertron.
Always ready for a fight or to lend a hand with one of the seemingly endless array of gadgets built into his body, most famously his water gun that fired a variety of liquids like molten lead, glue, and liquid nitrogen. IRONHIDE even occasionally took charge of the Autobots when Optimus Prime was indisposed, once leading a mission to Cybertron that reunited him with his girlfriend Chromia. In his own dedicated Spotlight episode, a string of errors in judgment convinced IRONHIDE he was getting too old and losing his edge, leading him to retire from active duty, until with the help of the Autobots' human friend Carly, he returned to action to save his comrades from the paralyzing Immobilizer. Now, unfortunately for IRONHIDE, prominence afforded him no protection when his toy was discontinued in 1986, leading him to be killed off in both the comic, taken offline by injuries sustained battling a Decepticon-controlled copy of Optimus Prime, and in the Transformers the movie, in which Megatron executed him during a Decepticon attack on an Autobot shuttle. But IRONHIDE wasn't gone for good. In 1990, his original toy was re-released as part of the classic range of reissues available in Europe and Australasia. This inspired his return in the UK comic, in which he was brought back online and served as part of the Autobots' new Earth Force unit. IRONHIDE would next appear in 1995, in the final year of the Generation 2 toy line, though it was in unrecognizable form, as a GoBot pickup truck and a Power Master Humvee. Though the profiles printed on these toys' packaging made it clear that they were new forms for the classic character, the toys obviously hadn't been designed with that intent. Really, they were an early example of a practice that would only become more common with time. That of Hasbro reusing an existing name in order to keep their trademark on it active. This would be the limbo that the name Ironhide would fall into over the next decade, reused by many subsequent Transformers series more or less at random on characters with an array of forms and personalities, tied together only by the loose linking theme established by Generation 2 that they were mostly types of off-road vehicle. First, though, there was 1997's Beast Wars Ironhide, a maximal elephant who combined with teammates Prowl and Silverbolt to form the giant Magnaboss. In the 21st century, stories from both IDW Publishing and the Transformers Collectors Club would retroactively declare that this too was the original Ironhide with another new body. 2001 brought Robots in Disguise Ironhide, a recolor of the Generation 2 GoBot. This Ironhide was the strongman of the Autobot ninja team, the Spy Changers. The animated series gave him a southern accent to evoke the original, and shone the spotlight on him in an episode that saw him grappling with the possibility that his friend and fellow Spy Changer Mirage had betrayed the team. In 2003, Transformers Armada introduced a female Ironhide, Minicon partner of the Decepticon Terrorsaur. The most prominent Ironhide introduced during these wilderness years was the one featured in 2004's Transformers Energon, an overeager young Autobot rookie who lacked in discipline and who idolized Optimus Prime and Hotshot. He could combine with his fellow Autobots into larger forms, usually partnering with Jetfire. This Ironhide was the lead character of the Energon cartoon, a brash young hero whose impetuousness often led him to blunder into trouble, but who grew and matured through his partnership with surly human Kicker Jones and his complicated rivalry with the Decepticon Scorponok. He was less of a hot-blooded anime type in the Energon comic, which upped his intelligence by characterizing him as a weapons engineer. Things took a turn in 2007 with the debut of the live-action movie incarnation of Ironhide. This heavily armed version of the character was somewhat closer to the original, the experienced old soldier always ready for action, though with his black GMC Topkick pickup truck alternate mode and mid-Atlantic accent, he didn't look or sound anything like his classic namesake. Serving as Optimus Prime's weapons specialist, Ironhide was a prominent character throughout the first 3 films and much of their ancillary media, with many toys to his name, as he worked with William Lennox and the forces of Nest to defend the Earth against the Decepticons, until his death at the hands of Sentinel Prime and his cosmic rust cannon in 2011's Dark of the Moon. Movie stardom propelled Ironhide back to the A-list of Transformers characters. Basically, thanks to the film, his name ceased to be one that could continue to be used at random, leading Hasbro to re-establish consistency by finally reviving the original Ironhide design, kicking off with Transformers Animated in 2008. With both a southern accent and a body design shared with Ratchet like the Generation 1 original, Animated Ironhide was a younger version of the classic character, who got his name from his ability to transmute his body into indestructible armor. Though little more than a background character in the series, had Animated been renewed for a 4th season, plans existed to have him join the main cast, with a redesign that combined elements of the G1 and live-action movie characters. Though this didn't come to pass, several subsequent toy lines would go on to feature new Ironhide figures with similar hybridized designs, most prominently Transformers Prime, alongside many other new toys based directly on the original character with no movie influence, leaving the random uses of the name from the in-between years all but forgotten. Ironhide's resurgence hasn't translated to any new appearances on television since Animated, but he was featured in the War for Cybertron video game and its various tie-ins and sequels, and was regularly a main character across IDW Publishing's 13-year run of Transformers comic books, even starring in his own dedicated 4-issue miniseries in 2010. From hunting the Machination on Earth, to fighting with his fellow Autobots while in exile on Cybertron, even death couldn't stop IDW's Ironhide. Though killed in action when a mission led by Hot Rod went wrong, he was restored to life by Alpha Trion to help exterminate the Decepticons' mutant Insecticon swarm. At the end of the war, Ironhide was granted a vision of a peaceful future by Vector Sigma, and dedicated himself to helping it become a reality, thwarting attempted Decepticon uprisings, and later taking his security officer origins to their logical conclusion by becoming the head of Cybertron's new police force. The newest Ironhide toy is hitting shelves right now as part of the War for Cybertron Siege line. He's already appeared in this form in the new IDW Comics series, and hopefully the War for Cybertron animated series, due for release on Netflix in 2020, will see Ironhide busting Deceptichops on our TV screens again soon. And those are the basics on Ironhide. One name, many bots. Which one's your favourite? Someone's got to pick Energon Ironhide, don't they? Tell me in the comments, subscribe if you're not already, click that bell to be notified about future episodes, and if you can, please help the show keep going by supporting it on Patreon.